It's happening. What's up? Hello, everybody. Lucy's still chilling on the thing. She's still on the cat tree. She just doesn't want to leave the cat tree anymore. She hears me. She just perked up when I said her name. We'll see. What's up, Jesus? You're first. Congratulations. What's up, Karen? What's up, Brian? Hi, Anna. How are you? Lucy is over on her tree, her cat tree. She I don't know. She hasn't been hanging as much. She hasn't been hanging as much during the streams. I don't know what's up. I don't know if I made her mad. What's up, poopy cakes? The best kind of cakes, the poopy ones. You know it. I hope everyone is having an amazing Thursday. It's been a long week for me. Not necessarily in a bad way. Just it just has been. Let's see. What was with that BDS resolution yesterday? Big issue in the progressive world has been the BDS resolution. Thoughts? So I talked about it briefly yesterday before I actually read the bill, and I gave that disclaimer. I'm like, look, I haven't read the bill yet. But, I kind of speculated maybe there was something even worse out there that actually penalized people in the BDS movement. But after reading the bill, I'm not with that. Now, a lot of the progressives that did vote for it, that is what they claim as well. They're like, look, this preserved the First Amendment rights of people participating in BDS. But upon reading that resolution and just the fact that when there were worse things proposed out there, civil rights groups and civil liberties groups like the ACLU and stuff were all over it. Whereas in this particular, for instance, there was one thing in that bill that said like, oh, Americans have the right to protest, but that was it. It was just vague and it was just there. It's not like there was one specific thing that said, hey, people have the right to participate in BDS specifically. So, I don't know why people would loan their support to it unless they believed in what that resolution said. So there you go. Morning, Ron. You should check out Charles Mingus. He was a jazz bass. I heard the name. Jazz bass player from Los Angeles was as punk as it comes. I like it. I've heard the name, and I will check that out. Charles Mingus. Let me take a screenshot of it because we'll make it a song of the day in the future. And we are pretty much at time. All right. And I just tried to take a screenshot and it just screwed up on me. Let me grab it. And then boom, got it. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I am Ron Placone, your host. I hope everybody is having an amazing Thursday. It's our last stream of the week. We don't do a stream on Fridays. So this is our last stream of the week. We won't be back again until Monday. So we'll kick it off with the song of the day. Song of the day, guys, I got to go with a classic. So I was driving home last night. I had done a couple stand-up spots. It felt good. Got the blood flowing. Was very tired, though. It's been a very long week for me, which isn't a bad thing. Long weeks can sometimes be really cool and rewarding, but it was a bit long week nonetheless. And I kind of thought, man, I want to rock out to some music. Now, I have Sirius XM radio. I get it for free, which is pretty cool. But and I listen to Little Steven's Underground Garage is probably my favorite station. But I also appreciate E Street Radio because I'm a big Springsteen guy. And there's a show on Springsteen Radio devoted to covers of Bruce Springsteen songs. And I heard something that I didn't know existed. I heard David Bowie covering Growing Up by Bruce Springsteen. And I got to tell you, it just filled my heart with joy. David Bowie playing Growing Up by Bruce Springsteen. Growing Up is one of my favorite Springsteen songs. It's an early song. It is about, you guessed it, growing up. Classic tune. Great anthematic, feel-good rock and roll tune. And David Bowie covered it. And David Bowie covered it in a very David Bowie-esque fashion. And it is a beautiful cover. I never knew it existed. I tweeted out, I said, I asked the universe, could I possibly love the work of David Bowie anymore? And the universe said, here's David Bowie covering Growing Up by Bruce Springsteen. And I got my answer, yes, I can. Yes, I can love it even more, because it was beautiful. It's such a beautiful take, such a beautiful cover. And Bruce Springsteen actually said, so the day, or maybe it wasn't the exact same day, but pretty much when David Bowie died, Springsteen was on tour. He was playing, ironically enough, my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he did Rebel Rebel that night. And he said a few words about David Bowie because David Bowie had just passed. And one of the things Springsteen said was that David Bowie was one of the first people to encourage him. Like, David Bowie was one of the first people to take Springsteen aside and say, hey, keep doing what you're doing because you're doing something great. So they had always been friends. And then Bruce and the gang went into Rebel Rebel, which was pretty badass. I've heard the recording of that. I wasn't there, unfortunately. My parents were at that show. I was a little envious. But my parents were actually at that show because, they're still in Pittsburgh, and I don't think they've missed a Bruce Springsteen show since 1976. I'm pretty sure, maybe even further back than that. I'm pretty sure they've been at every single one. Between one of them, either my mom, my dad, or both, they've been at every Springsteen show since the 70s. So they were actually at that show, and they got to see that, which pretty lucky for them. But I got to hear a recording of it. I've heard it on E Street Radio. So today's song of the day, it's a classic, and it is a cover song. It is David Bowie covering Growing Up by Bruce Springsteen. You can find it online. And if you haven't heard the original, please check out the original too. They're both beautiful. But yeah, such a beautiful, beautiful cover. And when I heard that on my way driving home, man, it's just a special song. And I decided that had to be the song of the day today. All right. Let's move on to some news about our crazy imperialism all over the world, right? That's how we a feel-good song that warms your heart and gives you a little hope in the human condition. Well, here is something to knock down all that hope. That's how we do it on Get Your News On with Ron. Culture softens the blow. That's the theme we're going for. When you look at culture and you look at poetry and you look at music and you look at comedy and you look at art and you look at film, that makes us, that inspires us about the human condition, that we can still create these beautiful things coming from a place of love. And then we go into what's going on in the political realm to say, oh man, what a disaster this is. It's like this show is sort of a paradox of showing the beauty of humanity and then the ugliness of it at the same time, or at least within a couple minutes of each other through an improvised transition, because we're doing all this shit on the fly. And hopefully it balances out. But here's some horrific news. I mean, I don't know how else this is from Democracy Now. This is terrible news. Trump vetoes, and they say vetoes in the plural because there were 3 of them, that paves the way for U.S. weapons sales to Saudi Arabia and the UAE. All right, so President Trump has vetoed 3 congressional resolutions halting the planned sales of weapons to Saudi Arabia. Wednesday vetoes came a week after the House of Representatives voted to block Trump's move to sidestep Congress by allowing the sale of $8 billion worth of Raytheon precision-guided weapon systems. Similar weapons have been used to target civilians in the Saudi-led war on Yemen, which has sparked the largest humanitarian crisis in the world. Opponents of the sales also point to Saudi Arabia's gross human rights abuses and the murder and dismemberment of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Turkey last year. Congress does not appear to have the 2/3 majority needed to override Trump's vetoes. So, in short, those weapons, they're going to get there. And the economy of war is going to continue. And Saudi Arabia is our friend because they do our bidding in the Middle East. In the Middle East, we cooperate with them. They uphold our oil interests. And in exchange, we are basically a military for hire. And we help them in their conflicts. That's what it goes. That's how it goes. So are weapons to them going to be blocked? Nope, not anytime soon. That ain't going to happen anytime soon. So now Congress made a certain move. Trump beat it. And now more weapons are going to Saudi Arabia. So that's happening. Well, simultaneously, this is happening. Gee, all this money's going to war. All this money's going to tax cuts for the 1%. Maybe, just maybe, they're going to try to rein this in a little bit. No, they're not. Here's something else that's happening from a budget standpoint. This is from Common Dreams. It's as bad as it looks. Pelosi under fire for debt ceiling deal that hands GOP power to kneecap a progressive agenda. It sets up a crisis of the first year of the next president's administration. We're letting them light the fuse on another bomb and place it squarely in the middle of the next president's first year. That might not even be a metaphor, by the way. They might mean literally. They're like, yeah, we're letting them make more bombs, so we can't do anything else. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi may have helped temporarily avert a looming fiscal crisis on Monday by striking a budget deal with the Trump administration, but progressives warn the agreement hands Republicans power to kneecap the next president's agenda by suspending the debt ceiling until after the 2020 elections. Okay, how does it do that? The debt ceiling is the legislation's limit on how much the federal government can borrow. If the ceiling is not raised, the U.S. would risk defaulting on its debts and potentially sparking a global financial crisis. Former congressional staffers and other critics said that by agreeing to suspend the debt ceiling until 2021, Pelosi gave Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell the ability to extract massive spending cuts and other concessions from a Democratic president in exchange for raising the limit. In short, what does that mean in short? Hey, Republicans, spend now, so after 2020, we can't spend later. So if by chance a progressive were to get in the White House, say Bernie Sanders, they're going to be able to say he can't spend anything because look at all this money the Republicans spend. Look, Nancy Pelosi just handed it over. They said, yeah, sure, we'll raise the ceiling. You do what you want. So they're going to spend money on war and bombs and tax cuts for the 1%. And then if a progressive or a Democrat even gets in the White House, we can't really spend anything. We need to rein it in now. You know how long it's been like this? At least my entire lifetime, and probably beyond. If you look at past presidents throughout my entire lifetime, Ronald Reagan spent on the deficit. Bush the first exploded the deficit. Bill Clinton got it to zero. Bush II exploded the deficit. Barack Obama made a dent in the deficit, but not near that of Bush II or any Republican presidents in my lifetime. And Republicans on the surface benefit the corporate elite, benefit the 1%, pursue the economy of war, and do nothing else. Democrats, they do the same thing. They're just a little more subtle about it. And Nancy Pelosi just rolled over, gave Trump exactly what he wanted. You see how both parties are bought by the same people. You see how this is a rigged system. This is a fixed game. Imagine a sporting event where one entity bets on both competitors. That has happened, and those are considered rigged events. Well, that's what's happening here. That's what's been happening for the longest time. They let the Republicans do what they want with the budget, do what they want with the deficit. It doesn't matter when it's a Republican. And then all of a sudden, when there's more public pressure to actually do something for people, because maybe, and I don't know, like in 2008, when Barack Obama won and he made all these promises to people, well, we got to rein it in though now. We got to rein it in. And this is setting the stage. Nancy Pelosi just set the stage that if Bernie Sanders were to win in 2020, they would tell him he can't spend anything. They would say, no, you can't have Medicare for all. Hurts the deficit too much. You can't have this. That's what happens when you have one party, and it's the money party. And the Democrats are in opposition to the Republican Party the same way the Washington Generals are in opposition to the Harlem Globetrotters. It's a game. It's a game. And we're supposed to have reverence for this system. We're supposed to take this system seriously. We're supposed to not realize that we need a revolution. We're supposed to actually entertain the fantasy that this is, and it's a fantasy, It is a fantasy that this is a real opposition. I mean, imagine you turned on a sports show and there's sports commentators commenting on the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals as if it was a real game. Like, imagine that. Imagine you tune in and they're just like, well, when I really thought the Washington Generals were going to get back in the game, but then when he pants the guy and his boxers were showing, he got a little embarrassed. And then when the Washington Generals guy was supposed to take a foul shot, but the Harlem Globetrotters took it instead, I was thinking, how did that happen? That doesn't even violate the rules. And then the Harlem Globetrotter took the ref's whistle and he blew the whistle. Can that happen? People would be like, what's wrong with these sports Is this satire? Is this a parody? Because we all know that's not a real game. It's theater. That's what it's like when you hear people commenting, well, I think the Democrats, this is part of it. Which strategy is this part of? Hey, give Trump what he wants. He can spend whatever, and then we'll worry about this after 2020. So if a progressive were to get in, whoops, what is Nancy Pelosi getting in this scenario besides absolutely nothing? I'll tell you what she's really getting. She's really getting the ability to kneecap a progressive in 2020. She's really getting the approval of her donors. That's what she's really getting. Because she has gotten rich beyond comprehension since she's been in office. Why? Because she's corrupt to the core. And here's another exercise of that. But this is supposed to be the resistance. It's the resistance. And I'm surprised. I really thought the Washington Generals were going to win that one. I'm very surprised. Thought the Washington Generals were going to pull out a W. Okay. So let's go to what's happening with Jeffrey Epstein, because there's been some weirdness there, and that's putting it gently. So I haven't looked at. I'm sure you guys have heard about this by now, but I guess he was found injured in his cell. They're not exactly sure what happened. They're speculating: was it an attack? Was it a suicide attempt? All right. So here's something from CNBC. Jeffrey Epstein on suicide watch after accused sex trafficker is found injured in New York jail. So this is as recent as 2 hours ago. Accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein is on a suicide watch after the wealthy financer was found mysteriously injured in his cell in a federal jail in New York City. According to the sources, officials do not know whether Epstein tried to hang himself, if he staged a suicide attempt, or if he was assaulted. The former friend of Presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton is accused of sexually abusing dozens of young girls at his New York and Florida residences in the early 2000s. All right, so let's see if there's any. Let's just go straight to the bottom. All right, so it doesn't look like there's anything else saying exactly what happened to the guy. And this has been a crazy thing. Some folks have been following it more closely than I have. Admittedly, I haven't covered it a ton on Get Your News On with Ron, but I think it's like we don't even know at this point how many wealthy, powerful people this dude likely has dirt on. And I'm sure there have got to be a lot of very wealthy, powerful people that are not wanting this dude to enter a courtroom. So I don't know what exactly happened to him, but I don't know if we'll ever really know for sure. We're going to be given an official story. We're going to be given that. Whether that's all there was to it, we'll be left to speculate. So right now it looks like all we know, this dude was found beaten up in his cell. Was it a suicide attempt? Was it an assault? Was it something just staged by him? We don't know yet. And this is one of those things where, this web of corruption goes very, very deep. And it's hard to speculate how much truth we're going to know or not know. But I guess we'll just wait for this to unfold. Right now, that's all we know. Let me see if there's any. Let me Google it real quick and just see if there's like any update. I'll just Google update, see if it gives anything. See if it says Right now, that's pretty much all we got. Right now, it's like, okay, he was injured. We don't know exactly what happened, but now he's on suicide watch. And I guess when they found him, he was unconscious, and the injuries were to his neck. All right. So let's move on here. Let's get a little bit of good news, shall we? Get a little bit of good news going. Here's some good news out of Chicago. Christina shares this, which I'll tell you what, Chicago's been doing pretty good lately. They've been doing some good things. So check this out. The city council in Chicago passes a work scheduling law. So what is this? This is the new Fair Workweek Ordinance. And what does it do? It mandates employers, gives workers early notice of their schedules, and they face penalties, financial penalties, the company does, if they change shifts unexpectedly. I love it. The Chicago City Council gave swift and enthusiastic approval to the Fair Workweek Ordinance, which mandates employers give workers early notice of their schedules and face financial penalties if they change shifts unexpectedly. Business groups, which were initially opposed to the mandates, dropped their opposition and stood side by side with labor and aldermen at a news conference after the city council meeting. Alderman Susan Sagloski Garza of the 10th, daughter of labor leader Eddie Oil Can. Okay, his nickname was Oil Can. I don't know why, I'm not familiar with him, but Eddie Oil Can Sadlowski oversaw negotiations as chair of the Workforce Committee. She wiped away tears as Mayor Lori Lightfoot celebrated the big lift of passing the ordinance that has been in the works for more than 2 years. It's not a perfect ordinance. We haven't made everybody happy, but I think we struck the right balance and really laid the foundation on which we can build going forward, Lightfoot said. Business groups, including the Illinois Hospital Association, the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, the Illinois Hotel Lot, they were at the table with the administration and stayed neutral on the final proposal, clearing the way for passage. Most said they would keep a close eye on the upcoming rulemaking package. We all communicated, all right? Business and labor communicated, and we got to the middle. This was a very pragmatic, progressive ordinance, and I look forward to working with Mayor Lightfoot and her team as we move forward. All right. So let's see what all's in here. Okay, so here's what happens. The Fair Workweek Ordinance takes effect on July 1st, 2020. Employers will have to give workers 10 days notice of their schedules. That notice will increase to 14 days in 2022. Safety net hospitals will have an additional 6 months to comply. Covered industries include building services, healthcare, hotels, manufacturing, retail, and warehouse services with more than 100 employees globally or 250 employees for nonprofits. Restaurants with 250 employees in 30 locations globally and franchises with 4 or more locations in the city are also included. The rules apply to employees making $26 an hour and salary employees making $50,000 or less. Employees can decline hours that weren't previously scheduled. Business groups lost a battle to create a voluntary standby list and must offer extra shifts to existing employees qualified to do the work before using temporary or seasonal workers. Businesses won't have to pay extra if employees agree to take extra shifts or if workers agree to shift trades. If businesses break the rules, they are subject to a $300 to $500 fine. So this looks like a pretty good thing. This looks like a pretty good thing as far as something in workers' rights, because it's just one of those things. I mean, making it kind of as big picture and simplifying it as much as possible. A lot of other countries around the world, their work culture is very different from ours, and it's different from ours in the sense that they don't live to work; they work to live. I know that's a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's accurate. And because it's a good life lesson. And here in the United States, it's the other way. We live to work. We live to work for them. I mean, not everybody. I mean, some people are different. Some people are, they're working on a passion or something like that. Some people are, self-employed and they love what they do. Some people are, like I'm not. But the general work culture is what I'm talking about. It is a live to work culture. And low-level workers, especially, you get screwed over all the time. They They just want to dictate your schedule. They don't give you your schedule in a timely manner. You see stuff like that all the time where, you hear people, gee, I don't know if I'm going to work yet or not, so I can't commit to XYZ. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this because I might have to work. Hey, I just got scheduled and I can't get out of this shift. So I'm not going to be able to go to this funeral. I'm not going to be able to go to this wedding, whatever it may be. You hear about that all too often in the United States. And I'm sure all of us at some point in our lives have been exposed to work cultures that were just disgusting. I know I have. I know I have. And I mean, I remember, I think I've told this story before on the show, but I just remember I used to work in this office in Seattle, and it was just like the least, like I felt like I was living in 1984. Like it felt very much like 1984. Like it was just everybody was like suspicious of everybody else. Everybody would try to like stab each other in the back to get ahead. My boss was just mean. Like there's no other way to put it. Like she was just mean. She was a genuinely mean person. And her and the other supervisor hated each other. So they were mean to each other. And then the one guy at the top was actually a really nice dude, but who knows if that was sincere or not coming from him. Everybody was grossly underpaid, myself included. And the work was boring and lame as hell. And we all existed in this Orwellian office. And I'll never forget, I had this situation where my uncle died, and it happened suddenly. And I had like another hour left on my shift. I called my boss. I'm like, you know what? I'm really shaken up. I got this horrible news. Is it okay if I leave early? And she did say yes. This was a different supervisor, though. This wasn't the mean lady. She probably would have said no. She was so mean. But so anyway, I just remembered, and prior to this was like pretty much one of my first day jobs out of college. So prior to this, I had only had like summer jobs and seasonal jobs and stuff like that. And I worked in a warehouse where everybody was just super cool and friendly, and everybody was just very, very warm, like it was like the total opposite. And I actually enjoyed the work. I enjoyed shipping and receiving. I've talked about this before. I worked in a textbook warehouse. So whenever we didn't have a bunch of shipments in, I would just be able to read all kinds of great books for free. So, I would just sit there and I would just read in the warehouse and then leave a bookmark. So anyway, when I got back, nobody said anything to me, like expressing any type of sympathy. No one said, hey, sorry for your loss. Not one person. And it blew my mind at the time. It blew my mind that nobody said it. Like I was almost offended that nobody said anything to me. Just like, hey, sorry. And as time went on in my life, and I still had a few more years of various day jobs, all of which were hellish, all of which sucked the energy out of me like a straw. Joe Rogan, and there's a podcast with Joe Rogan and Henry Rollins where they talk about how, some people just aren't wired for day jobs. And when you aren't, you're just, it's like taking poison. And that's how I'm a comic. That's what I do. That's who I am. And when I was starting out and was still new and wasn't able to quit my day job yet, it was like huffing poison all day. It was like you just felt depleted and so drained and so defeated. And so my point is, as the years went on and I had other day jobs, I realized how I should have expected nobody to say a word to me about my uncle's death. It's mind blowing that I had this one good experience. What I didn't realize, that was the exception to the rule. And in my experience, and hey, I'm sure there's some people watching this, you have an amazing day job where people are great. I'm sure that happens. And I believe you're also an outlier. That's what I believe. Because in my experience, the bad outweighed the good by a bunch. Pretty much. Our work culture is predatory. It encourages dog eat dog in so many for instances. It encourages not taking employees for granted. It doesn't encourage any type of worker rights. And that's our work culture in the United States that we've passively accepted. That's been imposed on us through years of rugged neoliberalism. The worker comes last. And there's this condescension is okay. You know what passes off as appropriate business communication is just subtle condensation. I just said It's just condescending 90% of the time. Like, I'm sure we've all been in a situation where you're just like, why are you talking to me this way? Why are you talking to me this way? Like I'm a child. Like I'm not capable of critical thinking. Just thinking about it makes me mad. And I've not had a regular day job in 9 years. It's been 9 years for me since I last worked in an office. And, there are times where, there's a really cool, I guess I'll mention Henry Rollins again here since we're on the topic. And this is something he talks about a lot. There's a really popular video that he did that I think went viral. I forget the organization that he did it for. It was some outlet, but he talks about how he used to manage an ice cream store. And then, he quit that ice cream store to join Black Flag. And sometimes he would talk about how he had an ice cream scoop. And he would kind of say, this is what I got waiting for me if I ever drop the ball and can't do this anymore. And he said, look, no matter how hard times got, how many, there were times in Black Flag where it was brutal. He would get piss thrown at him. He would get spit on. They would sleep on floors. The van would break down. After Black Flag broke up, he wasn't sure exactly what he was going to do. But he always said, I'm going to do something. I'm going to keep trying because that ice cream scoop, that's what's waiting for me. And, I have these memories from these awful day jobs, and I'm very thankful for these memories because there have certainly been times where I, am in some horrible, especially during my road years where I'd be at some horrible comedy club in the middle of nowhere where the set maybe didn't go as well as I would have liked. And I kind of thought, what am I doing? What am I gonna do with my life? This is not going great. I feel horrible. And then I reminded myself, the worst day of comedy is still better than the best day at any day job I've ever had. The worst day of what I'm doing now is still better. Still better. Now, you know what can happen now, though? Sometimes my voice goes hoarse. On the internet, and everyone can see it. But I'd rather have that than work in a shitty cubicle. Let me tell you something. I'd rather have that. That's kind of embarrassing. I just kind of, did you see that happen? I'm still going through puberty. Sometimes that can happen to me. That's something I have to deal with now. That's better. That's better than a shitty cubicle. I'll tell you. I'm wearing a Death t-shirt. You should check them out. They're a proto-punk band from Detroit. So anyway, it's pretty cool. Getting it back to this, it's pretty cool that there's legislation out there that forces employers to treat workers more like human beings. It's a shame that we need to have stuff like this. It's a shame that we have to have laws because most employers don't recognize the fact that their workers are human beings who have lives outside of this job. It's a shame we need to have policy like this, but unfortunately we do. So it's good that this policy's out there, and hopefully all the other cities in the country follow Chicago's lead. All right, so there you go. And I think that brings us, okay, so here is the last thing I want to do, and I want to discuss this after. All right, so this has been circulating around the blogosphere, and all right, so we're going to have volume here. All right. So there's that kind of dog whistle thing where if you make a certain hand gesture, it's supposed to be a dog whistle for white nationalism and white supremacy. And it's kind of a common thing a lot of people do. And I think a lot of people, they still do it without, and obviously that's not their intention. Well, other people, they do it in a subtle way where that is their intention. So here's something that happened. And you're going to see Trump kind of throw up that dog whistle. All right. So check this out.
AOC, but
here. All right, check it out. Ready?
AOC, but it. AOC, but it. AOC.
Like right.
AOC, but it. AOC. AOC, but it.
So you see how he did it like right there? Like right as he said it. Right as he said AOC, he did it. He did that exact gesture right as he said AOC. All right, here. One more time. Let's check it. Why is it not playing for me? Okay, never mind. All right, here, let me try to fix that.
AOC, but it. AOC. AOC, but it. AOC.
Like right there.
AOC, but it.
He does it right there.
AOC, but it. AOC. AOC, but it. AOC.
Right there, he does it.
A.
Why did he do it right there? Like that? Like that's one of those things where it's just like, that is disturbing. I mean, like again, and it's not like, because that's a common gesture that usually means like, all right, cool, or something like that, or like it signifies approval or something like that. And then it's been hijacked, as many things are, and now it's supposed to be one of those dog whistles. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that, and they still casually use it, and they don't know. But he did it right there where he said AOC. And I know that that is kind of a gesture he normally uses, but right when he said AOC, he did that. What do you guys think? I mean, that's a little peculiar, I think. Do you think it was the worst? Do you think that it was do you think it was a white nationalist gesture? What do you guys think? I'm curious. I want to take a poll. I want to take an informal poll of me just kind of reading the comments. So Lux is saying over on the Periscope, he's a white nationalist, says Lux. Nashville Brooke says that's totally intentional. Lucy's curious. She's like, I want to see this. Lucy wants to see it. Island of Road says hard to tell since his hands are so small. Visual Soldier says that, yes, that is a white power symbol. So let me see what you guys are saying. Tim Flowbuck saying, wait, are you trying to tell me Trump is a racist? What? All right, Free Thinker saying definitely a dog whistle to right-wing nationalists. Maggie Smith saying Trump does that stuff all the time. He's not that aware. Yeah, possibly. Let's see. Polly Fufu, I don't know. He does that gesture a lot, but it is weird he did it at that very moment. It seemed unnatural. That's what I'm saying. I mean, if he just did it where like it was like he was calling something good or something like that, and he's like, yeah, we're going to get this economy back on track, and he did something like that, I'd be like, yeah, he probably just did that in the colloquial, and a lot of people aren't aware of like these dog whistle type things. But the fact that he did it right there, like right there. Yeah, it totally looked unnatural, totally weird looking. And yeah, I just thought I'd share that with y'all because I thought it was a little peculiar. Let's see. I think he's a giant douche, says Karen Mitchell. I think you are correct. I think you are absolutely correct. Guys, tour dates, I got them. First of all, are you in LA? Are you in LA? Are you in LA? I got a show tonight, and it's at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Rick Overton's going to be there. Jimmy Dore's popping in and doing a set. Bill Conway from The Hard Times, one of my favorite satirical online magazines, he's doing a set. Amy Miller from Comedy Central's doing a set. Samantha Howell, who just recorded her album, she's doing a set. James P. Connolly's doing a set. It's going to be a fantastic show. I'm so stoked for this show. Guys, and if you're in LA, email me today, and I'll throw you on the guest list. Email me, say, hey, I saw it on Get Your News On with Ron. I'll throw you on the guest list. It's 7:30 p.m. tonight at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. Also this weekend, Saturday night, Vegas, baby. Graham Elwood and myself will be in Vegas for the Progressive Comedy Tour. Don't miss it. Get your tickets. Don't wait. Get your tickets now. We'll see you there. That's July 27th, 7 p.m. show. RonPlacone.com for tickets. Also, Northern Plains, RonPlacone.com for these tickets. September 4th, Omaha, Nebraska. September 5th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. September 6th, Madison, Wisconsin. September 7th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. September 8th, Iowa City, Iowa. Grab your tickets at RonPlacone.com. November, Australia. Details happening real soon. Don't have them quite yet, so hold tight. But Australia, we're coming. Perth, mark your calendar. Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. Well, don't necessarily, just November. I don't have a specific date yet. November, we're coming. And we should have more details very, very soon. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. For a give what you can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album, all kinds of fun stuff, and you help me expand this show. So, hey, think about it, if you will. All right, guys, thank you so much for being the best EPs in the business. Thank you so much for the articles. Thank you so much for sharing the videos. I appreciate it very, very much. You know the drill. Look at how chill Lucy is. She's so chill right now. She's just like, right on, man. We did another week. That's what she's saying. She's like, we did another week. I'm pretty proud. All right. You want to go play? You want to get your brushing and then a treat? That's what she gets. I brush her and then I give her a tweet. I give her a treat. Yeah, and I tweet for her too. Sometimes we tweet out photos. You know how it goes. She knows. She gets it. She's like, it's that time. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. You know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you all on Monday for Music Monday. Same time, same channel. You know the drill. Peace.